Hi, I'm Willem, and today we're talking about something that everyone can relate to. Relationships, and how sometimes there can be stress in our relationships. Like if you're fighting with your friends, or your siblings, or just someone who's close to you. But we're also looking at how we can clear the air and mend those relationships. Let's watch this God story and see if Jacob can reconcile with his brother Esau.
And a bunch of gifts. Because really, gifts. Gifts. Ah! Hey, it's Lisa again. It's really nice to be with you. Today I'm going to share a personal story. Many years ago, my dad made a decision that really hurt our family, and I was really angry. I didn't want anything to do with him. Maybe some of you guys can relate. I actually told my dad that I didn't want him to come to my university graduation. But after several years, I felt like God was saying to me that staying angry at my dad wasn't going to help the situation or our relationship. So I decided to forgive my dad. And now we have a really great relationship. And that makes me think about today's big idea that God's peace can heal relationships. Last time we talked about Jacob. Remember him? He was the grandson of Abraham and the son of Isaac. But then he tricked his dad Isaac into giving him his brother's blessing. His brother Esau was not happy. So Jacob fled and had this amazing dream where God promised to be with him wherever he went. Yeah, that Jacob. Jacob then goes and meets with his uncle Laban, and Jacob marries Rachel and Leah. That was okay back then. Jacob then has 11 sons and 1 daughter with his wives and their maids. That was also okay then, but not now. God then tells Jacob to head back to his father's land. So Jacob packs up the trunk, he calls the moving van. No, it wasn't that easy back then. Probably had to pack it all on their camels and their donkeys for a ride across the desert. But anyways, as Jacob's getting ready to go back to his father's land, he remembers how mean he'd been to his brother, that he actually tricked their dad into giving him the blessing instead of his brother. So let's pick up what Jacob does next. As Jacob started on his way again, angels of God came to meet him. Wow, that's so cool. When Jacob saw them, he exclaimed, "This is God's camp." So he named the place Mahanaim. Then Jacob sent messengers ahead to his brother Esau, who was living in the region of Seir in the land of Edom. He told them, "Give this message to my master Esau. Humble greetings from your servant Jacob. Until now, I have been living with Uncle Laban, and now I own cattle, donkeys, flocks of sheep and goats, and many servants, both men and women. I have sent these messengers to inform my lord of my coming, hoping that you will be friendly to me." Have you ever done that and apologized to somebody, but not knowing how they were going to respond? That's probably how Jacob felt in this situation. After delivering the message, the messengers returned to Jacob and reported, "We met your brother Esau, and he's already on his way to meet you." That's awesome. With an army of 400 men. That would freak me out if I heard my brother was coming towards me with an army. And in their day, if you came towards somebody with that many people, you were ready for a fight. Jacob was terrified at the news. He divided his household along with the flocks and herds and camels into 2 groups. He thought, if Esau meets one group and attacks it, perhaps the other group can escape. Then Jacob prayed, "O God of my grandfather Abraham and God of my father Isaac, O Lord, you told me, return to your own land and to your relatives, and you promised me, I will treat you kindly. I am not worthy of all the unfailing love and faithfulness you have shown to me, your servant. When I left home and crossed the Jordan River, I owned nothing except a walking stick. Now my household fills 2 large camps." Wow, that's pretty massive. "O Lord, please rescue me from the hand of my brother Esau. I am afraid that he's coming to attack me, along with my wives and children." When Jacob didn't know what to do and when he felt afraid, Jacob turned to God and prayed. And that's a great example for us. When relationships seem hard, we can talk to God about it, and his peace can heal relationships. That's exactly what happened with Jacob and Esau. Jacob sent his messengers ahead of him to go meet his brother, and he sent a bunch of gifts to Esau, because really, gifts could only help in this situation. Jacob then moves his whole family to the other side of the Jabbok River. He sets up camp there, and he has another incredible encounter with God. You should read about it yourself. Here's what happens next. Jacob heads out to go meet his brother Esau, and he sees Esau coming with those 400 men. Remember the army? And Jacob's probably freaking out. Let's read what happens. Then Jacob went on ahead. As he approached his brother, he bowed to the ground 7 times before him. He's probably scared, thinking, I need to bow down and humble myself. Then Esau ran to meet him and embraced him, threw his arms around his neck and kissed him, and they both wept. Jacob prayed for the best because he expected the worst, but God showed up and answered his prayer, and the two brothers were reconciled. And this shows us today's big idea, that God's peace can heal relationships. That's just like in my own life, where forgiveness helped fix the relationship between me and my dad. As Jesus followers, we are constantly reminded of the amazing peace Christ offers, and we can know that God's peace heals relationships. We can see that in Jacob's story, and we can pray for it to be true in our own stories. In our relationships with our family, or with our friends, or with other people, we can trust God to be with us. And when something seems impossible, we can trust that God's peace can heal relationships. Well, that's it for this time. I'm gonna go grab another coffee. See ya.
Jacob messed up badly with the relationship with his brother, and it was God's peace that brought the brothers back together after all that time. Let's join our friends and listen in on their discussion about relationships and what they experienced.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to Conversations on Peace. You'll remember last time that we spoke to Amanda and to Emily about what peace looks like to them. And today, Amanda's here with her husband, Jordan, and Emily's here with her roommate, Abby. And we're going to be talking about what peace looks like in relationships. So I'm going to throw it to Emily and Abby first. What does peace look like in your relationship?
Sure. I think something that I was thinking about in our friendship and in like living together as roommates, something that I've noticed is peace in our relationship looks like being allowed to show up as we are. And I'm not going to say the quote right, but I just think like people always say like peace isn't the absence of conflict. And I just think that doesn't mean living together and being friends doesn't mean that there's not conflict, doesn't mean that we don't like have hard conversations, but that's the biggest thing that brings peace in our friendship is giving permission to show up as we are and actually investing in those conversations. Because I think that's something that I know I didn't have a lot, like maybe when I was younger, is like that willingness to have hard conversations and knowing that that person was going to always like let you be who you are. And so I think that's the biggest thing that I've noticed is, yeah, just peace for us looks like getting to be who we are to each other and just holding space and place for each other.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think I'll add to that. I think the key really is really good communication and being able to identify when we sense a lack of peace in between our relationships. So, like in between us. So, at home, if I'm feeling like something's bothering me, then I will take the step to address that with Abby, and she'll do that with me as well. And I think peace also starts with being able to identify like what it feels like to feel peace in ourselves, because when we don't feel peace within ourselves, then it's really hard to feel peace between with each other. And so we often will kind of work through our own internal dissonance or discomfort, and then that can also help lead to better peace between us, and we can kind of work out our own individual turmoil, and then come together and talk about that and navigate that together.
Awesome. So good. Well, let's throw it to you guys, Amanda and Jordan. What does peace look like in your relationship?
So what peace looks like to me in our relationship is repair. Just the reality that doing life together, we're going to have conflict. And we do have conflict, and we do have moments of tension. And for me, I think about not trying to avoid those moments, but actually using it as an opportunity to lean in and be curious about what's happening for me, what's happening for you, what am I feeling, and actually being intentional about labeling what we're feeling. So if it's feeling anxious, feeling afraid, feeling sad, feeling disappointment, and being able to share that with you and holding space for each other to show up authentically and to be transparent, and also to think about how, whatever situation it is, how did that impact me? How did that impact you? And think about what it means for us to experience these emotions. And oftentimes it's informed by our own lived experience and our own trauma and things that we've gone through that maybe we haven't fully, dissected before or unpacked. And now we're unpacking it right now. And I think that's the beauty of relationships and peace, in the sense that in relationships, we can cultivate a sense of peace through making it over to the other side and repairing and learning from our experience of conflict. And I think that's what peace is, working through and repairing. Yeah.
Beautifully said. I think similarly. I think that for me, peace has kind of had to be redefined in my world, and especially in our relationship. There is no human relationship that we can really invest ourselves into and not experience, like you were saying, tension and conflict. Let alone if you decide to do life together for the rest of your life with somebody. Brings a lot of moments of joy, a lot of moments of goodness, and part of that package is the tension. So I know that in my experience, growing up and just examples, even in like media in the world, conflict oftentimes looks like we're going to war with each other. One of us has to be right, which means the other one has to be wrong and pay some cost, or we're not going to talk after. I'm going to gossip with my people and we're going to form alliances. And I think what peace looks like for me in our relationship is just, again, redefining that conflict to, instead of being a battle or a war, conflict is a space where we get to deepen our connection, where we get to learn, where we get to grow together, which takes really hard work, because that doesn't happen on its own. It takes that repair. It takes that communication. It takes that transparency of owning, like, what's going on for me in this moment, and let me bring that to the table. So instead of like loading up as ammo all the moments of discomfort or disagreement, holding on to the memories of every time when you've disappointed me, it's disarming ourselves first and just throwing all that stuff on the table and saying, I notice this is in me. I don't want it to be weaponized against you, but I want us both to learn. So I think peace is kind of like the table we come to lay everything down and intentionally work through so that we can get to know each other and ourselves more deeply, with love and compassion really being the foundation.
Yeah.
This has been wonderful, guys. Thank you so much for sharing what peace looks like in your relationships. And I think there's so much here to unpack. There's so much here to talk about. And I'm excited to see what comes out of this in our conversations afterwards. So thank you all again for being here, and we'll see you next time.
Any relationship can get complicated, whether that's with your friends or your parents or your roommates or your teammates or even a romantic relationship. But we can learn from Jacob. He was afraid because he had a strained relationship with his brother. But he prayed, and God came and completely turned that situation around. Let's break into our small groups and see what this looks like in our lives.